BORTE.com.
It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down. Now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppan chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is paired right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game and a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppan.com. That's KASAI Teppan.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone. Hi guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to HarmonSolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast too. Check it out. Go to HarmonSolar.com. That's HarmonSolar.com.
My name is Mary Grace. There are a few misconceptions about Alzheimer's. It's not just memory loss. It's the loss of mobility, the risk of falling.
For more information, contact the Alzheimer's Association at alz.org. Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back. It is Thursday after a very drunken Christmas day for me, at least. That's what was involved with me. A lot of food, a lot of merriment, great people, and a lot of great drinks. So many great drinks. Did I watch a lot of basketball yesterday? Yeah, I did. Do I remember the basketball that I watched yesterday? That's a different question. We can do that. Unfortunately, Dylan did not get blackout drunk yesterday on Christmas Day. So
we're just making money yesterday, my friend.
Yeah, hand over fist, it sounds like. So we'll get to that for some of the things that Dylan was able to do. We'll get into that. We'll get into some of the NFL games that happened yesterday. We're also going to break down the game tonight because it's Thursday night football. The last time that we talked, it was Monday. Monday night football is what it was. We're broadcasting from the Harmon Solar Studios, by the way, in back-to-back cloudy days here in Uptown Scottsdale. And also on the show is where we get to talk to you about you and your bets. And if you had as good a run on Christmas Day as Dylan did himself, if you did, we'd love to hear about it on the text line. That's 888-368-1580. How did your bets do? How did your teams do? We'd love to talk about it. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
We are powered by Sportrade, and make sure you tune in tomorrow because Sportrade CEO Alex Kane will be joining the show to roll out the next Arizona Cardinals win probability contest, where the prize is a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 in cash sent directly to your Sportrade account for you to play some extra wagers with. So make sure that you check that out tomorrow. And in the meantime, you can download Sportrade, use promo code 1580. That way you have your Sportrade account ready to go so you can potentially get that extra $50 if you win. And if you use that promo code 1580, then you'll be able to take advantage of the 10% cashback promotion that Sportrade offers on new account signups. And with that being said, Keon, I happen to have a very good betting day yesterday. Won many bets. I posted all of my winning bets onto my Instagram story. You can check that out. The handle for my Instagram account is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. And if you happen to check out the link in the bio on my Instagram, that'll actually take you to the Beat the Book website, where each day that is where we post our recommended bets. And there are 10 bets that are posted on there in addition to a long shot parlay for Thursday night football, as well as the various NBA games that are on today. So do not miss out on those. We've been doing very well with these picks lately. And if you happen to check out 6 Point Play yesterday, that is the podcast that I also produce. That is where I keep all of my absolute best NBA player prop bets and recommendations. Went 4 out of 6 on the picks on that podcast yesterday. Won some bets based off all of that insight. So, if you happen to check that stuff out, if you won some money, following those picks, send us a text. Let us know, 888-368-1580. We would love to hear from you. With that being said, Keon, the NFL, and I think this might have started last year, but, they have been kind of passively waging a war with the NBA for Christmas Day.
Yeah, it didn't happen last year because they didn't have a game on Christmas, but they had the Black Friday games. That was their first kind of step into.
So this was actually the first year.
This was the first year of Christmas football.
So, bold move NFL. And I mean, ultimately, I think LeBron said it best yesterday after the Lakers and Warriors game. We absolutely love the NFL. We love professional football. We love betting on it. We love watching it. But Christmas Day belongs to the NBA. And that is just the way it is. Now, as far as the NFL goes, there were 2 games yesterday. 4 teams in the mix, and they're all great teams. They're all teams that are bound for the playoffs. So we got the Chiefs and the Steelers yesterday, and Chiefs were able to win that game pretty handily. Final score 29-10. Chiefs managed to lock up the 1 seed in the AFC. And then I mentioned this to you, Keon, before the show. I thought this was interesting. Patrick Mahomes was getting interviewed after that Chiefs game, and he mentioned that he promised his wife that the team was going to secure the 1 seed because I believe, she's pregnant right now, and the due date seems to be targeted in what would be that bye week if you get that 1 seed. So that's pretty strong motivation to go out and win a game where, I mean, the spread on that was not much. It was expected to be a lot closer.
The line was 2.5 in favor of the Chiefs when that game started, and of course, they covered the 2.5 and then quite a bit more. But I do think that's some pretty big motivation, because you don't want to be in a position where you just can't be there if you can. How these due dates are. It's not that precise. It's possible that was, getting the 1 seed was for nothing. The baby comes later or earlier or whatever. But at least giving yourself that opportunity to go see your kid be born, I don't think that there's anything crazy about that. And I do think that it's a motivating factor, sure. But I also just think that with the Chiefs, their offense is just starting to figure things out. For the most part, a lot of what they struggled with early in the year was just having a vertical threat. Once you lose Rashee Rice, you just don't really seem to have that going. Patrick Mahomes linked up with Justin Watson on a couple of deep throws earlier in that game. The 40-yard bomb and then the touchdown throw from 19, 18 yards out. That completely changed the entire tenor of this game, because the Steelers had to stretch out defensively. And now underneath, you're starting to see a lot more Xavier Worthy getting the ball in his hands. He does need a little bit of help with scheme stuff to get himself open. And then once Worthy starts going, now you've got Kelsey underneath. There were a couple of times Kelsey was just wide, blinking open. He just didn't have anybody covering him. There wasn't anybody there to stop him. Then you combine that with the turnovers that the Steelers had, just an absolutely unacceptable fumble by Russell Wilson to start the game, an interception where he was trying to do a little bit too much, tried to squeeze a pass into a window that was closing, and it closed before the ball got there. It's just the Chiefs played a full, total, dominating football game against a team that is a quality football team. And I don't think that people really want to see the Steelers in the playoffs, but they got completely manhandled on Wednesday.
Well, and, for all of the injuries that the Chiefs had to endure, throughout the season, and then, you see these other players that they, bring in to try and, kind of compensate for what they're losing. Now it's like they've sort of come full circle. These guys that they lost towards the beginning of the year, they're, now healthy enough to come back and play. And you look at this Chiefs lineup on paper, and oh my God, I mean, it's filled with talent. And this is like a place where I don't feel like we've seen these guys be at this year. You look through the box score right now. Travis Kelce led the team in receiving yards. He had 84, followed by Xavier Worthy with 79 yards. You mentioned Justin Watson, couple catches for 60 yards. But then below there, you've still got names like Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, even a Juju Smith-Schuster,
who showed up big time.
I
On
mean,
a couple of first down conversions.
What team has more depth, than this right now, out of their receivers? Even Noah Gray. I mean, he's not a very bad tight end. Certainly for someone to be playing behind Travis Kelce, that's still a lot of talent, like all around. And then even as far as the running backs go, I mean, you had almost, equal production out of, Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. And now you've got a lot more depth, not only at the wide receiver, at the running back, at the tight end position. And, you just need Pat to continue to do his thing, stay healthy. And I mean, the Chiefs are very much looking like they are going to be in play to, complete that three-peat, which we have not seen before.
Yeah, no one's ever done that. That'll be a thing that no NFL team has ever managed to accomplish. And right now they look like they do every December. Like they've got their struggles in November. They've got their struggles in September. Every December rolling into January, the Chiefs look like the team to beat every year. Like, it's just, at this point, there's no point in even doubting them when they struggle early. Lost Toby, you're going to have to use more words and explain what you mean there. You're saying it wasn't a catch. What wasn't a catch? The Watson touchdown? Yes, it was. That's not even a debatable, like, what wasn't a catch? Please explain yourself.
So, I actually just happened to pull up the current Super Bowl futures odds on FanDuel. And I feel like in the futures market amongst all professional sports, like the NFL is where you see just the most radical movement, where literally just one game can move the needle so much. The Chiefs are currently the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. And if you recall, not very long ago, the Bills were the favorite because, they came through, they beat Detroit. Detroit suffered from some injuries. So it's kind of this game of, musical chairs almost right now between the Chiefs, the Lions, the Bills, the Ravens. The Eagles are also in play there. So just really, really interesting, to be able to see the movement and the pricing. There's absolutely opportunities when, things move so radically like this. Now, the second game yesterday, that was between the Ravens and the Texans, and Ravens win in a massive blowout. I wasn't shocked by that. I don't think you were shocked by that.
I was surprised by how lopsided it was. I was a little surprised that the Texans didn't score any offensive points. It's a safety, and that's it. Like, they didn't, like, their offense was stuck in neutral from the beginning. That, like, it just, and it's not like when you look at the game, like, there wasn't any one moment where they were playing so badly that they should have been ripped to pieces. But CJ Stroud was accurate. Just whenever they needed the big play to move the chains, they didn't get it. Or when they were in the red zone area inside of the 5 and they handed off to Mixon to go get that touchdown on 4th and goal, and the Ravens stand tall, knock him out of bounds just on the 1, and it's a turnover on downs. Those are the little things that the Ravens did that just snowballed on the Texans throughout the game. Because it wasn't like any one bad play or bad performance. It wasn't like CJ Stroud was throwing a bunch of picks or they were fumbling the football. They just couldn't stop Baltimore, and they couldn't do anything offensively in a way that did surprise me a little. I did take Baltimore to win the game. I just didn't think it was going to be so lopsided. Like, the Texans didn't look competitive at all.
Well, and, there is a part of that where I think the Ravens defense, especially in the second half of the season so far, they've really kind of come around, and they're looking like a much different defense than they were for the first half of the season. I think, honestly, some of the play from the Texans, I mean, this weird schedule isn't doing anyone any favors, when you're playing like on what they played, was it Monday and then a Wednesday? Is that how that kind of traded off with those 4 teams?
Yeah.
So
it's still a lot of football in a short amount
a lot
of
of
time.
football. Well, and then if you recall for the Texans, Tank Dell had that really crazy injury the week before.
Yeah.
Stroud was very shaken up by that. They're very close friends.
And then the Nico Collins, like, he just hasn't been really healthy lately either. So, like, they were a little shorthanded, but I just didn't see them just not showing up in the game. I thought that game was going to go more like how the Chiefs and Steelers went, where the Steelers did get eventually pounded in that game, but it took till the third quarter. Like, the Steelers were despite the fact that Russell Wilson fumbled the ball once and threw an interception, they were still pretty much in that game at one point. They just couldn't hang on, and the Chiefs ultimately proved to be too much. Also, the fifth letter on the text line says, Keon, you wouldn't go crazy seeing your divisional rival three-peating, Cowboys, Eagles, etc. I mean, I would, but they're not. So what are you asking me? He said everyone against the Chiefs. F Patty and the Chiefs. No, it's not everyone against the Chiefs. I don't care. That's not my I don't have the hate. Here's the thing. This is the great thing about football. I am not obligated to hate teams outside of my division, and don't. Like, unless I just don't like you as a person. Deshaun Watson? Like, it's like, why am I hung up on this? I'm not hung up on the Chiefs. If the Chiefs three-peat, yeah, we'll be witnessing history. If you're a Raiders fan or a Broncos fan or a Chargers fan, I'm sorry. I don't know what you want me to do. That's not my team to hate. That's your team to hate. It's not everybody. Don't sign up and enlist everybody when everybody didn't agree to hate that team. I did not agree to hate the Chiefs. I did not sign up to hate the Chiefs. I believe you're a Broncos fan. I understand why you hate the Chiefs. That's not everybody, though.
I think the Chiefs, like in general, you really either you love them or you hate them. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to sort of just like be
but
like.
That's how it always is with really dominant teams. Like
Right.
when you had the 90s Bulls, there were people who loved Jordan, but there were also people who hated Jordan. Like my dad hated Michael Jordan when I was a kid. He was just tired of seeing him win all the time. But that's got nothing to do with whether or not like anybody should just. Oh no, fifth letter's a Raiders fan. Just win, baby.
Well,
Well,
I mean that tracks. Look, I
Yeah.
mean, like you're in the division. I wouldn't want to see my divisional rival just like completely dominate the league for like 3 straight years. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. To each their own. The one thing I did want to highlight, at least in this whole Ravens and Texans deal, was obviously Lamar Jackson has a crazy rushing game yesterday. He goes for 87 rushing yards. He had a rushing touchdown. He broke Michael Vick's quarterback rushing yards record in a season. And if you actually take a look at the MVP market now, going back to what I was saying before about all this really crazy movement.
It feels like musical chairs again.
Yep. There was a point where Josh Allen had this thing locked up, was like minus 500, minus 600 on the odds. And you take a look at this today, and all of a sudden that lead is going away. He is minus 230 on FanDuel to win the MVP award, followed by Lamar Jackson at plus 170. So if you recall, the last time we shouted this out, Lamar Jackson was like 6-1 or 7-1, 8-1.
Yeah, his star was kind of fading a little bit after a couple of big Josh Allen games, and it looked like Josh had pulled away so far. Well, nobody could catch him. But the issue, of course, is that Lamar's still a great quarterback. He's still capable of putting up these kinds of performances, especially when you do it the way he did on the ground. You're breaking records in the process, which is also something that Josh Allen was doing. Like we're in a kind of golden age right now of watching quarterback play. Like these guys are amazing.
And they're doing it in very different ways that are both just, I mean, really fun to watch. But this is going to be a really interesting MVP race, just to see how it finishes out over the last couple of weeks of the season here. So, with all that being said, let's kind of jump over to the NBA, because my whole thing with the NBA yesterday, I mean, if you watch these games, most of them were very competitive. Were tight for most of the entire duration of the game. It was kind of the opposite of the NFL. A handful of them had some really exciting finishes. If you happen to tune in for that very first game in the morning yesterday between the Knicks and the Spurs, I think that might have been my favorite game on the day. Part of that was just because I won a couple bets on it, but the other part of it just being like we were treated to some incredible performances. The Knicks ended up defeating the Spurs 117-114. Victor Wembanyama, in his second NBA season, is just doing things that I don't feel like we've ever seen from a second-year NBA player. Yesterday in particular, 42 points, 18 rebounds. Now, in the box score, it says he had 4 blocks. I was watching this game with Radio Ron, and we counted 7 blocks. Like there were 3 other plays where it very much looked like Victor, he tipped the ball. Maybe he had it with his fingertips. the ball fell short on a jump shot. The one that sticks out to me is at the very end of the first half, Jalen Brunson took a shot like as the buzzer was going off for halftime, and Wemby totally tipped this thing. And I mean, they did not give him credit on it, but the ball, I mean, the shot fell short, hit the front of the rim because Wemby tipped it, doesn't get called. That's a whole other frustrating thing because if you're betting NBA props and then you've got stat keeping that isn't keeping up with it,
I bet if the game was played in San Antonio, it counts.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just, it's one of those weird NBA things where it's like, are we still doing like team stat keeper? Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Despite the fact that it's the year 2024, we are still doing the team stat keeper is kind of,
I have to imagine,
shading the books a little bit.
For like the way that works. I don't believe the NBA is like paying independent people to fly to every single game to like do the stat keeping. They have to be locals, employed by the team.
Yeah, and it's the thing that we see kind of sometimes where like if a star player for the Heat, loses control of the basketball, but it's kind of debatable. He doesn't get hit with the turnover where he's absolutely getting hit with the turnover if it's anywhere else in the country. It happens. And so like, yeah, that game gets played in New York. Wemby is the guy that's kind of taking all the attention away from the hometown Knicks that day. Maybe some of his blocks aren't blocks that day. That's just kind of how it feels.
Well, and this Spurs team that played yesterday, this was like the first time all season that they were fully healthy, did not have any big, players missing out. And I mean, they looked tough. They looked like a scrappy, aggressive team. And I mean, if you did not see this yesterday, I encourage you to go check out the highlights. The Spurs are going to be a force to be reckoned with for at least the second half of this NBA season. I really believe they're going to make a push for the play-in, possibly above the play-in. They're at a 500 record right now. The only reason they did not win this game yesterday was because they got ran into by Brooklyn Bridges. And when I say Brooklyn Bridges, I'm referring to Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, who decided to be possessed by the spirit of Kobe Bryant yesterday.
and finally had a performance that very much looked like how he was playing pretty regularly with the Brooklyn Nets. This guy was making contested fadeaway mid-range jump shots as if he was Kobe Bryant. It was just spectacular to watch. And if that's the kind of Bridges that the Knicks get out of him, on a more frequent basis, these guys are going to be very difficult to beat. They could absolutely give Boston a run for their money. So really excited to see how that plays out. I know we're up against a bit of a break right now. However, I have a whole rant that I want to get into about Luka Doncic here. I believe Luka Doncic is the softest 25-year-old currently playing in the National Basketball Association. If you want to hear why, stick around. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Sports bettors, we've all been there. You have a live bet lined up. You check the odds one more time, place the bet only to see the bet delayed by the spinny wheel, line move, and your bet rejected. My name's Alex Kane, and I'm the founder and CEO of Sportrade, Arizona's newest sports betting app. At the core of the Sportrade offering is our probability-based odds. In other words, the Cardinals may be offered at 55% odds to win, a lot simpler than minus 125. Place your bet at 55% odds, and as your win probability changes, so does the value of your bet, giving you the ability to cash out with total control. And the best part, no spinning wheels. Live bets on Sportrade are instantly accepted. Download Sportrade on your iPhone today and use code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet in your first week. Terms apply.
Sportrade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-791-1313. That's 800-791-1313.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to HarmonSolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast too. Check it out. Go to harmonsolar.com. That's harmonsolar.com.
Head coach Bobby Hurley and Sun Devil men's basketball are ready to join the Big 12 Conference. This season, the Sun Devils host conference foes Baylor, Iowa State, Arizona, TCU, and Houston, all at Desert Financial Arena.
And another steal ahead to Miller. And Miller reverses it up and in. And he's fouled. Holy moly.
Join the action and get your Sun Devil men's basketball tickets today by calling 480-727-0000 or go online to sundeviltickets.com.
With all the school supplies your child will need over the years, it can be easy to overlook the most important one of all, money, which is a good reason to open an AZ 529 education savings plan. Whether you invest $15 or $150 a month, your money grows tax-free. By the time your little one is ready for college, vocational school, or workforce training, they'll have all the savings they need to get the job of their dreams. Visit az529.gov to get started.
This message is sponsored by the Office of the Arizona State Treasurer.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Beat the book here on 1580 The Fanatic. I'm Tion Rose, joined by our betting expert Dylan Cohen. And yesterday, one of the things that really stood out, Luka down again.
Down again, yeah. So first off, if you happen to check out that 6-point play podcast that I put out for Christmas Day basketball, then you would know that I did recommend betting on the over on Luka Doncic's points. I thought he was going to be good for at least 30 points. And it was looking very much like that. He had a very big first quarter of scoring. It was about midway through the second quarter. He had about 14 points at the time. And he was being defended by Jaden McDaniels. And he was not touched. The guy was just standing in front of him in his defensive stance. And Luka, he didn't roll an ankle. He didn't run into anyone. He didn't touch anyone. He literally just stepped wrong. And then all of a sudden, he's grimacing and he's like, take me out of here. I'm done. And then lo and behold, turns out he aggravated his ongoing, calf contusion, calf injury. And now the current news on it is that the Mavs are bracing to lose him for an extended period of time. And, up front, I'm frustrated about, losing out on a player prop bet due to an injury. That's like the absolute worst way to do it, let alone an injury like this that was non-contact.
Yeah.
But, you start to kind of think about this a little bit more. And I started looking at some actual numbers. And I mean, if you're a Luka Doncic fan, if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you should be a lot more upset right now. And there's a lot of red flags about this. Luka Doncic, at the ripe age of 25 years old, has only played in 22 games this year. Steph Curry is 36 years old. He's got a lot more miles on those legs, a lot more NBA minutes. He's played 24 games. LeBron James turns 40 years old in a few days. He's got a lot more mileage, a lot more minutes. He's
a lot more. Yeah.
Significantly
about 4 times as much. Yeah.
He's actually played in 28 games this year. So, I mean, you really start to kind of boil this down. You look at Luka's injury history. If you recall, this same calf injury kept him out of the entire training camp for this coming season. He missed the entire preseason last year due to the same calf injury. He missed a few games in the 2022 postseason due to this same calf injury. And he's honestly missed other games this year for other ailments beyond the calves. He's got an ongoing heel contusion that bothers him. He missed a couple of games due to a sprained wrist. But you go back through, the majority of his injuries in his career, and 90% of them are lower body. Knee, ankle, calf, groin, quad. Fox Sports, they actually have like a whole list documented. Every single Luka Doncic injury, there's got to be over 100 of them since like 2018. And, these are things that will happen naturally in the game of basketball. But when there's guys that are 12 years older than you, that are almost 15 years older than you, and they're able to do it at just as high or higher of a level for more games than you, that tells me that there's something wrong in the way that you are preparing yourself for any given season that is leading to these issues in the season. And now what has this done for Luka? If you check out the current futures odds for NBA MVP, you'll find that Luka Doncic is no longer listed. And this was the guy who was priced to be the favorite coming into the season. So the NBA, they've got this rule. You have to play at least 65 games to be eligible for an MVP award. Luka at this point has already missed 8 games. The way that the Mavericks are talking about his current injury timeline right now, it's basically as if he's going to be out indefinitely. Sounds like more than likely he's going to miss 5 to 10 games. And if it happens to be that 10, then he's going to be disqualified from being eligible to win the MVP. So, first and foremost, if you bet Luka to win MVP at the beginning of the season, sorry, that bet's more than likely a loser. Let's just say Luka only misses 5 games, 6 games. Well, now he's in this really high pressure position where he can't miss, more than a handful of games throughout the entire rest of the season. Otherwise, he's not going to be eligible for MVP. Now, my bigger outrage in this is really just in the fact that, Luka has been talked about for years as if he's kind of on this trajectory to be the next KD, the next LeBron, the next
face of the league, one of the greats.
And, if you are not investing your time properly and your resources properly into yourself in the off season, I mean, you're doing all of this to yourself. And it's unfortunate because Luka has the talent to, reach all these heights that everyone expects out of him. But if you're not doing the things that you need to be doing in the off season to prepare, then, I mean, at best, Luka's going to have a career not very different from Tracy McGrady. And that's currently what I see for him. Now, when I say he's not investing his time properly or his resources properly, I'm not saying he's like doing the full Kyler Murray route and just going like full Call of Duty all summer. But my perception, what I think is going on is that, off season comes around, Luka's played in the postseason, team wants to give him a break. Cool. That's fine. Maybe there's some international ball going on. He's going to go do something for Team Slovenia. Okay, fine. Maybe he's going to spend some time with friends and family, recharge. No problems with that. Maybe he's going to play some video games. We know he's a gamer. I don't have a problem with that. But there comes a point in your career where you need to start really prioritizing strength, conditioning, preventative treatment to your lower body to really, get yourself to that next level. And we've seen examples of this. We've seen it within the NBA. We've seen it within other sports. What comes to mind for me, which I mentioned to you before the show, anyone that's seen the show on Netflix, Quarterback, they document different quarterbacks and their lives on and off the field. And Patrick Mahomes is, one of the quarterbacks that they covered for this. And they show a lot of footage about how in the off season, Patrick Mahomes has a special trainer that he works with, and they do a lot of, different kinds of conditioning techniques where, the goal is to be able to get your body more pliable and get it, more used to having your legs and your ankles kind of bent in like weird directions, because in football, you're going to get tackled and that kind of stuff is going to happen. This is the kind of thing that I don't believe Luka Doncic is doing, or he might be doing it, but maybe whoever is like leading him through this is not the right person.
That's also true. And like, how many times have we seen that where you see guys hire a trainer and then the trainer is not as qualified as they thought, or maybe has worked a little bit of pseudoscience into the training techniques, or whatever the case might be, and you're not getting as effective care and treatment as you could possibly be getting. On the text line, by the way, reacting to what you're talking about here, Dylan, Lost Toby says Tracy McGrady is wild, but I think most of Arizona would like that. Bat Flipper says this is why basketball and baseball are falling behind football in popularity. No one tries during the regular season, and the seasons are too long. Also, fully guaranteed contracts make people lazy. Now, I think that that's a completely different scenario entirely. I think you're wrong about people not trying, because I'm sorry, I watch the games. Like, that's just, I don't know that that's true.
Well, and Luka leaving that game yesterday, I believe he was hurt. I don't think that was
Yeah.
like a laziness thing. It wasn't like
No,
some cop out to like get out.
I think what Dylan is saying is that had he taken better care of his body, like everybody knows the number. LeBron James spends $1 million a year on his body. And the reason why is because that's your tool. If you show up to a construction site and you don't have pliers, screwdriver, hammer, you're not prepared for work. If I show up to my, to here at the radio station, I don't have my headphones, I don't have a microphone, I'm not prepared for work. Luka's body is the instrument that he uses to do his job. And what Dylan is saying is that there are techniques that you can engage in to make sure that your body holds up over an 82 game period. Because I don't think 82 games is too long. It wasn't too long for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It wasn't too long for Michael Jordan. It wasn't too long for pick role players from that era. It wasn't too long for Muggsy Buggs. So it's fine. It's fine.
And you know what?
Take care of yourself.
Lost Toby, I know you could appreciate this example. The NBA, example of this that comes to mind for me is actually Steph Curry. Because if you recall, within Steph Curry's career, the first 6 years or so, I mean, the guy chronically was spraining his ankle. And he used to get criticized for having paper mache ankles.
Yeah, I remember that when the Warriors paid him initially, one of the things about when the Warriors gave him that contract was, man, I don't know if that's a good deal, because if Steph hurts his ankles again, I don't know that you're going to be stuck with a contract essentially that's not paying anybody anything that's useful, because he can't play.
So, it wasn't until Steph Curry invested in strengthening his lower body, in particular his ankles, his calves, his feet, and he did all of those things. And then look what happened. He busted out and he got that first championship with the Warriors back in 2014, 2015. And then that sparked a, little kind of mini dynasty there. And he saw value out of what he invested in himself. And if I'm Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, if I'm Patrick Dumont, who's the new controlling, interest owner, I am sitting down with Luka. I'm asking him what his plans are for this summer. I don't know if he's planned that far out. And then, if he has, I'm going to say, hey, buddy, guess what? That's it's not happening.
New plans. Game done changed.
We're going to put a state-of-the-art team around you. We're going to literally give you all the tools and resources you need, but you need to put in the work now. You need to start doing the things that you need to do to elevate your game and put you on a track to be that next KD, to be that next LeBron. Because if you don't do this, there's another guy waiting in the wings who's ready to take it. His name is Anthony Edwards, and he just beat your team yesterday. So, if I'm Luka Doncic, if I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan, I'm outraged right now. That Mavericks game yesterday, they were down 28 points. They, without Luka, and then they actually almost came back. They were within 3 points with under a minute left. If they had Luka Doncic, they win that game yesterday. So,
yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that kind of takes you off a little bit. Why don't organizations, when players first come in the league, throw their arms around the young guy and say, hey, there's a way that you have to take care of yourself and take care of your body to be a professional basketball player. You can't just go out there and you hear the stories of guys as rookies. All they do is eat candy, and they don't ever train except for when they show up to practice, and they'll play themselves into shape every season. And by the time they figure out there's a way I need to carry myself to be able to play this season the way that I need to, at the level I need to, like a Zion Williamson is the saddest example to me. By the time Zion figured it out, it feels like the damage is already done. There's nothing he can do now because of the way that he plays the game to stop his joints from being hurt, because he still has to play explosively. That's what they drafted him for. That's how he plays. But the damage of playing that way overweight has kind of already been done. And now here we are. Cardinal Art says, honestly, the man has been a pro since he was 14? These new NBA players are the new NBA housewives. Leeches. I don't know that anybody's a leech. Again, I think that guys are immature and undisciplined the same way that any of us would be if you gave us millions of dollars at 22, 23, 24 years old. The issue is there are adults around them that drafted them. There are people who have experience, and maybe that player's not listening or whatever, but Luka's a person who could potentially derail an all-timer of a career. I think Luka's still going to have a good career, but there's going to be a line between good and great. And Luka went from a guy that undeniably was going to be great, and he might just be good now. And I don't know what to do about that when you look at a person that talented. What are you supposed to do when they're playing at I don't even say at a mediocre level, but they're taking care of their body at a mediocre level, and it's affecting their play.
Well, and going back to what I said about his career being like Tracy McGrady still made the Hall of Fame. Tracy McGrady still had a very good career,
and yet never made it out of the first round of a playoffs until he was past his prime, riding the bench with the San Antonio Spurs.
So that's, why I put this out there for Luka right now, because to me, like, his career is kind of at a crossroads at this point. This season was supposed to be like your breakthrough NBA season. You just finally made the NBA finals. Now it's all falling apart. With that being said, let's just quickly shout out something good that happened yesterday on Christmas Day. And that's our Phoenix Suns.
Oh, it's
Thank
about time.
God. Thank God. Phoenix Suns. I have to admit, I would not bet on that game yesterday beyond a couple of Nikola Jokic props, because I just did not know what kind of a Phoenix Suns team that we were going to get. Phoenix Suns are very much at a crossroads as well. But thankfully, we got a aggressive Phoenix Suns team that seems to be listening to much of the criticism that they've been getting lately, and they responded. Phoenix Suns end up defeating the Denver Nuggets at home 110-100 with no Devin Booker. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal each scored 27 points. I think the biggest, most important thing, Jusuf Nurkic, 30 minutes played. The elusive 30 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
And then he also contributed 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 8 points. I mean, we'll take the 8 points. We don't even need the points from you. If you can just be the defensive anchor, grab those rebounds, keep everyone from attacking the post, you scoop up some assists at the same time. You end with a positive plus-minus rating. That's all we need from Jusuf Nurkic. And maybe he's starting to hear a lot of the chatter, a lot of the trade speculation, and maybe that's lighting a fire under him. I don't know what it is, but if he plays like that every game, there's a spot for him on this team.
Absolutely. How could there not be? That's the one thing that they need from him is effort. Like, it seems like when Budenholzer showed up, the thing that they were going to ask from him was, shoot the ball more, corner threes, stretch the floor. But really, the thing you need from Nurkic more than anything else is just move your feet. Be prepared to box out. Be prepared to challenge people for the basketball, because you have to. That's the only way that this team's going to win basketball games, because they do space the floor so much. And of course, for me, watching Bradley Beal step up, I thought that was pretty huge too, just because when Booker's not there, Beal needs to take more shots. He needs to be a bigger part of the offense. Durant's going to do what he does either way, but Beal is a good enough basketball player.
He should be getting at least 20 plus shots up, I think, if Booker's not playing.
Yeah, like if you want to make sure you know what your role is on the team, you melt into the offense, your third banana when Booker's out there, fine. But when Booker's not there and Durant needs help, Beal is the guy that has to deliver. He did yesterday.
So that was really encouraging to see. And for our Phoenix Suns, just checking on the schedule, looks like our next game is against, look at that, the Dallas Mavericks with no Luka Doncic.
The Luka-less Mavs, which, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean that the Mavs are going to roll over and die. That team does compete, even when Luka's not out there, as you said they did yesterday. On the text line, by the way, Cardinal Art said, robbing the fan of the game is what I meant, Keon. And that's fair. I don't think the players are robbing the fans. Especially when it comes to, if you're not taking care of your body, it's not that you're trying to steal money from the fans. If you're going to blame anybody, the fact that these tickets are hundreds of dollars, that parking is hundreds of dollars, that a family of 4 eating at the game is also hundreds of dollars. Like, that's robbing the fan more than a player just got injured and got pulled from a game. Luka's got to take care of himself, but that's got to be for him. He's got to worry about that, because you've got to have pride in what you do. Regardless of whether or not there's people paying to see you or not. If that's what you do, you take pride in it. You work hard, you practice, and you take care of your body. Anyway, we're over a break. We've got Thursday Night Football to talk about. Seahawks, the Bears. That's tonight right here on 1580 The Fanatic, and we'll discuss right here on Beat.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Live and local.
We all know just because gifts for loved ones can look like flowers, a spa day, or maybe even planning date night. But what about something that will truly last and protect your loved ones along the way? I'm talking about life insurance. I called SelectQuote to secure our coverage and couldn't believe how easy and affordable it was. I'm 40, and my $500,000 policy was only $16 a month. My husband's also 40, and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. And with their same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. With monthly payments less than the cost of a bouquet of flowers, this is the perfect time to make sure your family is protected.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-596-2626 or go to selectquote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-596-2626. 1-800-596-2626. Details on example rate at selectquote.com.
Lowe's knows how to help you save time and money, no matter the job. That's why we can deliver supplies to your job site as soon as same day, so you have more time to get the job done. Because when you need it fast, we've got you covered. Lowe's knows pros. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
My pain is considerable, but that prescription is dangerous.
The side effects of my medicine are worse than my condition.
I'm in recovery. I can't take those pills.
When faced with a health crisis, you shouldn't have to choose between risks. At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our medical doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. Our naturopathic doctors can restore pain-free joint function and restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com. Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, P-O-R-T-E. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
We know how it goes. You can't always tune in and hear your favorite shows and hosts.
Dude, look, I'm a loser. Okay?
It's cool, bro. That's why we post podcasts of your favorite shows and hosts. Listen when you want to. Listen on demand.
That is great and frankly kind of amazing.
Go to 1580thefanatic.com to download.
And we're back. Last segment of the show. So we've got to talk about the game that's happening tonight. The Seahawks, the Bears. Thursday night football right here on 1580 The Fanatic. And boy, this is going to be a really important game for the Seahawks because they're trying to basically stay in the playoff hunt here.
Yeah, and obviously if they win, they've got a big showdown at the LA Rams next week. So tons of motivation on Seattle's side to try and get a win here. And then, meanwhile, if you're the Bears, the season is lost. You're having ongoing conversations about who the next coach is going to be. Actually, really the best thing you did was send your coach packing once he did that whole boneheaded thing against the Lions.
The Lions, and then thought it was okay. Just went up there and couldn't even lie to the media and say, I'm wrong. Even if you don't think you're wrong, and you are, at least lie to everybody. He couldn't even do that. So I would say that's actually the most recent Chicago Bears victory, because otherwise, if you look at the actual wins and losses, they haven't won anything since October 13th. So, that being said, there was a right way to bet this game, and then I just kind of have like a bad feeling sort of deep down. So what I mean by that is the Seahawks should win this game. And that is the way that I recommend betting it.
if you check out the Beat the Book post for today, I recommended an alternate spread at -2.5. And the reason why I did that is because I could just see this game strangely being more competitive than it should be. And it very well could potentially come down to that final field goal where, if you take the spread at 2.5 and it's a tie game and a field goal is going to win it, then, it still puts you in a place where you can win that alternate spread. But my concern in that becoming a reality is really just boiling down to Geno Smith and what kind of a Geno Smith we're going to get in this game. He did come away from his last game with a knee injury. Didn't seem to be bothering him too much throughout the week. He was able to practice. Team says he's ready to go. But we've spoken many times on this show about, potential weaponization of an injury report. And, I'm not saying he's not even listed on the injury report. So it shouldn't be coming into play, but he might be less mobile than he typically is because he may have a bruised knee that possibly, isn't being disclosed the way it could be on an injury report.
And the thing is, because if they're going to play him, if the team doctors say he's going to play, there is no point in putting him on an injury report. It may be a bruised knee, but if Geno says he's good and the doctors say it's not going to do permanent damage, why would you put him on the injury report? He's also, Geno's not a running quarterback. He's a pocket quarterback. So a bruised knee for Geno isn't the same as a bruised knee for Kyler or a bruised knee for Lamar Jackson. Those things kind of come into play as well.
Yes. Now the Bears are a defense that loves to blitz, and they do have an aggressive, D line that can get at a quarterback. So that's where, that's kind of factoring in for me about concerns about mobility. Now, that being the case, the concerns about mobility, Bears having an aggressive pass rush, that's where this could be a very, very profitable game on a guy like Jackson Smith Jigba's, receiving props. He has been a favorite target for Geno Smith. He has consistently been getting in the neighborhood of, 70 receiving yards or more over his last 5 games. And you take a look at where his line is for this game right now. And when I looked at this earlier today, he was at, I want to say it was 75.5. Oh, now it's 73.5 over under. And that's on FanDuel. So this is one where I did recommend, just to be a little conservative, you could do an alternate receiving prop. You can take him for 65 plus receiving yards. But he is someone that I expect to be targeted heavily tonight. He's even someone that you could look to consider playing for an anytime touchdown. He was getting a pretty decent return on that the last time I looked at that market. He was paying about plus 150, 1.5 to 1. Keon, how do you see things kind of unfolding here in this matchup?
The way I see it kind of going down, first off, we kind of differ in how we view this game. I don't think this game's going to be close. I just don't think that the Bears offense is capable of scoring against this Seahawks defense that has been, over the last 6-7 weeks, it's been one of the best defenses in football, especially against the pass, which if you're going to make a game close, you're going to have to throw the football. I also think Caleb Williams, he holds onto the ball too long. There's a lot of plays where he takes sacks he doesn't have to take. And so that lends itself to, a game where you could probably get some turnovers, where Caleb's going to maybe make a mistake just out of the sheer amount of times they're going to throw the football if they're behind. I also like Jackson Smith and Jigba. You talked about him earlier and how Geno has liked him. He's a 1,000-yard receiver already with a couple weeks left to go in the season. And that was starting off as not necessarily that option. I still think DK is the number one option just because DK is the guy that you circle on a game plan and go, if we don't stop this guy, we're not stopping any of the other players on this team. So teams have been kind of focused on taking DK away, and Jackson Smith and Jigba has absolutely profited from that and profited from the extra attention, especially on those intermediate routes where it's a lot of trust. That's what it takes with the quarterback that you're with. And Geno can throw the ball before Jackson even sees it, and he knows that when Jackson turns, he's hauling it in. It's just an incredible amount of trust in that offense. And then the other thing that I'm looking out for is the running game for Seattle. It's been a huge part of what they're doing, whether it's Charbonnet, whether it's Kenneth Walker III. Either way, When those guys are rolling, running the football, it makes everything else go much more smoothly, especially if Seattle gets a lead. If they get up 2 scores, it's going to be a running game, and I don't know that you get the ball back if you're Chicago.
You know, there was one thing that stuck out to me in terms of a trend that is pointing towards a particular bet. And if you're someone that likes to play the over-under on the total score, you take a look at each of these teams' most recent games. And for the Seahawks, they have been consistently playing in games where there's at least 43 or more points scored over the last 4 games. For the Bears, there's been at least 42 points scored in all 5 of their last games. And you take a look at the over-under, it's 41.5. So with both of these teams showing a strong trend of hitting the over their last 4 or 5 games, I have to think that, you know, playing the over here is going to be something that you can consider. You know, it's been raining a little bit in Chicago throughout the day, but looks like it's clearing up by the time, you know, the game's going to kick off. So I would also consider playing the over at 41.5 for Seahawks and Bears. Keon, that's all I got.
That'll do it for us right here on Beat the Book. Cardinal Art, Bat Flipper, Lost Toby, Fifth Letter. Thanks for listening to the show today. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow, unless you stick around. The Daily Blender is coming up next, and you might find that the Daily Blender sounds a whole lot like this show. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Right here on 1580.